They delivered the bomb that ended the war. Then the sea and the sharks came for them. On July 30th, 1945, the USS Indianapolis, the cruiser that had just carried the core of the atomic weapon to Tinian, was torn apart by 2 torpedoes and sank in 12 minutes. Nearly 900 men spilled into the open Pacific. No one came looking for 4 days. What went wrong began long before that night. The keel of CA-35 was laid down in March 1930 at the New York shipbuilding yard, a time when the world's navies were racing to balance speed, firepower, and armor. From the earliest blueprints, the ship was built to be both fast and formidable. A Portland-class heavy cruiser, designed to outpace threats and deliver decisive blows. She measured 610 feet from bow to stern, with a beam of 66 feet, and displaced nearly 10,000 tons under standard load. Her 4-geared turbines could drive her past 32 knots, a speed that made her valuable for scouting, escort, and rapid response missions across the vast Pacific. Commissioned in 1932, Indianapolis quickly became a familiar sight in American harbors and foreign ports alike. She sailed as a flagship, hosted dignitaries, and trained new generations of sailors. In peacetime, she carried President Roosevelt on inspection tours and served as a symbol of American naval reach. But the quiet years vanished as war swept across the Pacific. Indianapolis earned her reputation in the crucible of battle, supporting landings at Tarawa, bombarding enemy positions in the Marianas, and screening aircraft carriers during the push toward Japan. 10 battle stars marked her record. By 1945, she was a proven ship, trusted for missions where reliability and speed meant everything. The Navy turned to her again when it mattered most. In the months before her final voyage, Indianapolis received new radar, fresh anti-aircraft guns, and a full overhaul at Pearl Harbor. She was made ready, on paper and in steel, for the war's last, most secret mission. Yet, as her hull gleamed in the Pacific sun, no one aboard could have guessed how quickly routine would give way to disaster. Beneath her graceful lines, Indianapolis carried the muscle of a warship built for urgency. At standard load, she displaced 9,950 tons, lean for a heavy cruiser, but every pound was calculated to keep her fast. 4 Parsons-geared turbines, fed by 8 boilers, could deliver 107,000 shaft horsepower to 4 massive screws. That power translated to a top speed of 32 knots, nearly 37 miles per hour over open water. In the Pacific, where distances swallowed time and surprise was survival, such velocity made her a prized asset. Her main battery consisted of 9 8-inch 55 caliber guns, mounted in 3 turrets, each capable of hurling a 260-pound shell over 17 miles. 12 5-inch dual-purpose guns ringed her decks, joined by dozens of 40mm and 20mm anti-aircraft mounts. This firepower allowed her to punch above her weight, whether bombarding enemy islands or fending off air attacks in the carrier screens. Yet every knot of speed came at a cost. The designers chose lighter armor, enough to shield her magazines and machinery spaces, but not enough to shrug off a direct torpedo hit. She measured 610 feet from bow to stern, with a beam of 66 feet and a draft of 24 feet. Her hull shaped to slice the waves and outrun most threats. On paper, she was the perfect ship for a rapid, high-stakes mission. In practice, that balance between speed and protection would define her fate. As July 1945 drew to a close, the crew trusted in their ship's power and reputation. Few considered that the very qualities that made Indianapolis a thoroughbred might also leave her exposed, alone, and vulnerable in the vastness of the Philippine Sea. On July 16, 1945, Indianapolis slipped out of San Francisco, her decks loaded with a cargo so secret that only a handful aboard understood its true nature. Sealed orders forbade radio transmissions. No escort would accompany her across the wide Pacific. The manifest listed temperature-controlled crates, but inside lay the U.S. supply of uranium-235 and the firing unit for a weapon meant to end the war: a single atomic bomb. The crew, nearly 1,200 strong, could only guess at the importance of their mission as the ship surged westward, alone, at flank speed. For 10 days, Indianapolis raced the clock. She cut through the ocean at a pace that set a new record for heavy cruisers, over 5,000 miles in less than 2 weeks. The officers on the bridge kept a close watch, knowing that every mile brought them closer to enemy waters, but the silence was unbroken by radio or convoy chatter. The war had entered its final, most secretive phase. On July 26th, the ship arrived at Tinian, and the precious cargo was offloaded under armed guard. The components vanished into the heart of the island's airfield, destined for a mission that would change history. With her orders fulfilled, Indianapolis turned east, her mission complete, but her isolation unchanged. She steamed alone once more, her name absent from public reports, her purpose known only to a select few. The men aboard looked forward to home, unaware that the next leg of their journey would bring them into the heart of disaster. On the bridge of I-58, Commander Mochitsura Hashimoto watched the silhouette of a lone cruiser glide across the horizon. The Pacific night was still, broken only by the low hum of engines and the faint glow of running lights. At 3 minutes after midnight, Hashimoto ordered his torpedo crew to fire. 6 Type 95 torpedoes left their tubes, each a 24-inch weapon, powered by pure oxygen, designed for speed and silence. Each carried a 405-kilogram warhead, enough to tear through the armored hull of a heavy cruiser. Hashimoto tracked the seconds, knowing there would be no warning for the men aboard Indianapolis. At exactly 15 minutes after midnight, the first torpedo struck the starboard side near the bow, close to the number 1 turret. The detonation sent a flash of fire and steel skyward, instantly knocking out the forward fire control and killing dozens in the forward compartments. Just 1 minute later, at 16 minutes after midnight, a second torpedo slammed into the ship amidships, right by the number 8 fuel tank. Fuel lines ruptured, and a column of burning oil erupted through the decks. The shock tore open watertight compartments, and the ship began to list as water and flames swept through her interior. Officers on the bridge, stunned by the violence, had only seconds to grasp what was happening. Below decks, men were thrown from their bunks, scrambling through darkness and smoke as the ship's power flickered and alarms sounded. For the crew of Indianapolis, the attack came without warning. No sonar contact, no time to maneuver, no chance to send a distress call before the sea began to claim her. In less than 2 minutes, a routine night crossing had turned into a fight for survival. And as the ship's lights faded, hundreds of men found themselves trapped in a steel coffin or hurled into the black water, with no idea if help would ever come. 12 minutes. That was all the time the crew of USS Indianapolis had between the first torpedo's impact and the moment the sea closed over her decks. After the second explosion tore through the hull amidships, water surged into ruined compartments with a force no one could fight. The pumps, engineered to keep out the ordinary leaks and battle scars of war, stood no chance against the torrent. In the darkness, men scrambled through rising water and choking smoke, searching for ladders, hatches, anything that led away from the flames and the cold rush below. Bulkheads buckled. Watertight doors jammed or vanished entirely. The starboard list grew steeper with every passing minute as more than 1,300 tons of seawater poured in, overwhelming the ship's balance and robbing her of buoyancy. By 0020, the lights flickered and died. Power failed. The engines, once the heart of a vessel built for speed, fell silent. There was no way to send a distress call. Above, officers gave the only order left: abandon ship. At 0024, men heaved Carly floats and life preservers into the sea, leaping after them or sliding down the slanting deck. Some never reached the rail, trapped by the chaos below. Others were swept off their feet as the ship rolled, the deck tilting past the point of no return. In the final moments, Indianapolis capsized, her bow rising briefly before she plunged stern first into the black water at 0027. Out of the 1,195 men aboard, about 900 escaped the sinking and found themselves flung into open ocean. They clung to life jackets, rafts, and to each other, scattered across miles of empty sea. Above them, the surface stilled, erasing all trace of the ship that had carried them. In the silence that followed, no rescue was coming. Only darkness, salt, and the slow dawning terror of what survival would now demand. Even now, the ocean holds the remains of more than 800 men, names etched in steel and memory. Their loss exposed the cost of silence and failure at sea. As navies modernize, the lesson endures. No technology replaces vigilance, and every sailor's life still hangs in that balance.